I think sometimes as fans get a little too over analytical about things sometimes. Things like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was never made to be taken seriously. Yet we take things like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles very more seriously than we should. And for reasons being because the turtles somehow have such great chemistry that we're able to look at them as human. And despite they don't look like us, they have so many human elements that we relate to, and it really brings out the child in us. And this new movie, despite it's so different from the old versions, does that, but in very different ways. When they said they were going to make a new live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I was a bit skeptical because I kind of thought that they shouldn't really go back to live action, and it really should just be all CGI like the 2007 version. And that one was really great, and the animation was beautiful. The problem was just the plot, and I was a little skeptical of how this would work, and especially how would the turtles look in realistic CGI. And they turned out to look really bad. I mean, they don't have that. I mean, they got great personalities, and they still got that human element to them that we relate to. However, their looks just really throw people off. I mean, they're so ugly. It really takes away that joyfulness, and it's kind of like a horror movie. I mean, they just don't look like how we love them. And what really pissed everybody off was Megan Fox as April O'Neil. And as I've said before, I like Megan Fox just as anyone else, but it's just she wasn't right for that character. But in this role, she was very classy and very well mannered, and not just that girl that's just gonna wash your car. And that's probably how Michael Bay handles his auditions. But anyways, and she's April O'Neil, for some reason I've never been able to figure out why, has been always associated with the color yellow. And I'm really glad that they didn't use that suit from the cartoon, because that yellow suit, whatever it was from the cartoon, really never made any sense and would look horrible in live action. I mean, I don't get why a reporter would wear some weird yellow jumpsuit. And I'm glad that she was wearing that Megan Fox was wearing a yellow leather jacket instead of some weird jumpsuit. But I hope if in the next one, and if they stick to tradition and replace April O'Neil in the second one, if they're gonna go the route of the originals, that I hope she kind of wears some kind of Kill Bill style yellow leather outfit, and just kind of really goes all ninja, goes all out ninja. And they say they're going to bring Casey Jones in the next one too. And should I say, I don't know if Casey Jones would have made this movie better, but I really could have done without Will Arnett and maybe even Whoopi Goldberg. I felt like there were some kind of useless characters in this movie, along with I forget his name, but the guy that was supposedly Shredder, they've promoted him as Shredder on Internet Movie Database. It says he's playing Shredder, but he is not playing Shredder. They have stuck the original Shredder, but it did not have the same surprising elements as the original films, where Shredder was masked throughout the whole movie and didn't unmask himself until the end. But I'm kind of also glad that they picked a new look for Shredder. A lot of fans are gonna hate me for saying this, but I mean, yeah, this Shredder with the robotic samurai suit, he was a lot like a Transformer. And this movie was a lot like a Transformers movie in a lot of senses. But I'm glad they picked a different route with Shredder, because he does kind of look like some kind of tin can Darth Vader in a way. So I'm glad just overall that he looked more like a samurai. And I hope that's how he looks throughout the next films, depending on how much more they make. But he was an awful lot like a Transformer. But I'm fine with him being in a robotic samurai suit as long as they stuck to the original Shredder. But I'm not sure if it's the original Shredder. They never really got into that story for some reason. And the movie did kind of feel like a 90-minute long trailer for a sequel, because the story wasn't very in depth and they never really kind of got into too much big plot details. I'm kind of mad, but not so thrilled that they went with chemical warfare as the plot. And it does also throw me off that the Foot is a military operation, but they were kind of more martial arts related, kind of on the outside, because Michael Fassbender, I completely forget his name, but the supposed Shredder was making that comment that once they filled the air with those chemicals and they took over New York City, that they wouldn't need to use guns anymore. And I think he was at least trying to say that that after they took over the city, they would become more of a martial arts operation. So I think they were using military tactics to really put the city under a microscope, because I think Michael Bay and the director knew, or at least figured, that New York City, as big as it is not going to be intimidated by some martial arts operation. And they really wanted the Foot Clan to really go kind of Joker and really put the city under a microscope. But more about the Turtles, like they do have the personalities that really made us fall in love with them, especially with Michelangelo, because he was always my favorite, and he's still my favorite to this day, because he was always the kind of Joker. He was always sort of the clown of the pack. And I think it was a Donatello in the cartoon. My memory now, for some reason, is very vague of the cartoon, but Donatello was always kind of the inventor, and he was always inventing things, and they really stuck to that in this movie, and they didn't go that route in the original live action movies for some reason. But I gotta say, Splinter, the rat, he looks terrifying in CGI. He looks completely terrifying. I mean, I am terrified of rats completely. And I wish he looked more like the puppet Splinter. Like, I really liked the puppet Splinter a lot better because he was a lot more wise. And not to say this one was too, but I think the puppet Splinter was a lot more lovable because he was kind of a dick at first, but later really broke out his character. But more about Megan Fox as April O'Neil, if you haven't heard enough already. She was just very boring as April O'Neil. She brought no real life to the character. And I think that was Michael Bay trying to show people that there's a different side to Megan Fox? And I think there is. But she really didn't have the girl next door quality to her that she's really supposed to have. And I didn't really fall in love with her the way I have with her previous incarnations. But how am I gonna rate this movie? I mean, it's okay. I mean, because at the beginning especially, it just takes way too long to delve into the plot. When in the first movie they just jumped right into it. But in this movie, it just went on too long with too many unnecessary things, like April jumping on trampolines and hunting down the turtles. It didn't draw you into the story quick enough. And like I said before, there's too many useless characters. And the supposed Shredder, the rich guy, he was a useless character. They really should have just put more attention on the Foot and the real Shredder and really got into that original story with the conflict between Splinter and Shredder, and how the Foot was banished from Japan and made their way to New York. But and they really need to stop going into the origin of the Turtles, because we really know enough about their origins because we've heard it so many times. But they changed the origin story a little, and what took us away from the kind of romantic factor of the not so romantic factor, but of the original story, is that they kind of changed the origin a bit, and they were actually April's pets. And when she hears the names of these giant turtles, Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, and Raphael, she immediately knows that these were her childhood pets from the lab, and she named them after the Renaissance painters. And that really takes, I think that really takes a lot away, and in a sense kind of maybe confuses the story, or at least the original. But it works in a sense, but it's also just unnecessary and really just it's kind of, and it's also boring visually. It's kind of like in the Amazing Spider-Man when they went into all that detail about Peter's dad, and they had him on that plane in the beginning. Like all those things were really unnecessary and really took you away from what you went in to see. And pretty much, yeah, there were just some unnecessary story elements, but it does have good action, and the turtles do have lovable personalities. I give this movie 3 out of 5 stars. It is worth seeing, but if you want to wait till it comes out in DVD, that's also okay, because at least the first half of the movie isn't very captivating, but it does get more action-packed toward the end. I didn't like how the Turtles had to go up against guns instead of martial arts and swords, because I felt like it gave them an unfair advantage. And I don't know why I didn't see this coming. I mean, they had to make them bulletproof. And that really kind of takes away how the vulnerability that the Turtles have. And toward the end of the movie, when they supposedly defeat Shredder, the big Transformer Shredder, he's just kind of like, he's in the crater and he's just kind of sipping on the ooze like he's sneaking some cookie dough or something, just like green ooze. And it's obvious that he's going to come back in the next one stronger. And I hope that they can really bring some of the cartoon elements in, like Bebop and Rocksteady and Krang, but really kind of give them a more cinematic element, because we have the technology. I mean, if they could bring the Turtles to life the way they did, I think they can easily bring characters like Bebop and Rocksteady and Krang into it, and make them not so silly, and give them a real cinematic factor. So I hope they really dive into the cartoons, and who knows, like maybe even get crazy with things like time travel. I'm not saying they should go the route of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, which was horrible, which was just terrible. But I'm thinking more like the video game Turtles in Time, where they jump around to different time periods, I think. But yeah, I hope they can bring in just all those like silly cartoon elements and really just make them kind of cinematic and really bring back what they love about the Turtles. And I'm trying to gather my final thoughts here. They're gonna have to find this movie had a big marketing campaign, of course, with Pizza Hut, but I think the movie would have benefited better, especially with the toys. Toys have always been a big part of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, they need to really even out their looks. They really need to kind of make them look more like the Turtles we know, and really even them out more, and make them look less ugly. But knowing Michael Bay, he's probably going to don't be surprised if he keeps them the way they are, and keeps Megan Fox as April O'Neil. I don't know why he brought back Megan Fox after the way she acted on the set of Transformers 2, but maybe she'll get mouthy again, and they'll stick to the tradition of Secrets of the Ooze, and get a new April O'Neil and stick to tradition. But I don't know for sure. But overall, it is an enjoyable movie. I think it is worth seeing, despite it's only okay, and I'd watch it again. But yeah, I'll give it probably 3.5 stars. Purchase out.